This is my AT&T Fiber gateway, and it's completely unplugged right now, but my internet is still working. And no, I didn't just unplug it for the video. I actually replaced it inside my network rack, and now my fiber goes straight into my own router. So I had this up here in my office because this thing gets really hot and I wanted it in a conditioned space. But since I'm removing it and I don't need it plugged up, I'm going to take my fiber out of my office and run it down to my rack. So here in a minute, we'll switch to me in my attic and I'll show you how I pulled my fiber down to run it into my rack and show you exactly how I set up the 8311 SFP module that I ordered. I'll have a link to it down below in the description. If you guys want to bypass your own AT&T Fiber gateway, you just have to buy the 8311 SFP module and I'll show you how to program it. And once you program it with your ONT ID that's on the bottom of this thing, you can bypass your AT&T Fiber gateway too. Alright, so this is where I bought this SFP module from. This is a XGPON SFP module. That's what I have with AT&T. If you have anything over a gig, you're on XGPON. GPON can only do up to about a gig, maybe 2 gigs. Correct me if I'm wrong down below in the comments. But if you want to know for sure what you're on, there's a wiki. It'll tell you how to look it up on your AT&T router. Or you can just upgrade to 2 gig like me. And then if you upgrade to 2 gig, they have to move you to XGPON. But it's $170. I'll have this website linked below in the description. You go on this website and make sure you select the 8311 community for the firmware. And then for the operating temperature, I would do the industrial operating temperature. It doesn't change the price, but this thing gets hot. There's a reason why it has a heat sink on it. I would put a fan on it. Mine's out in my garage, so I'm worried about it overheating in the summer. So I'm gonna have to point a fan to mine because I'm assuming when this thing overheats, it just reboots and then you lose internet. So I would do the industrial one. I ordered the commercial one, but it's up to you. Like I said, it doesn't change the price. So you go to this website, like I said, link down below in the description. You order it, and then I'll show you how to get into its web GUI, how I have my switch hooked up now. So this is how I'm accessing the web GUI on this SFP module. I got it plugged into the switch here, and then this other cord here runs to my computer, and this SFP module is 192.168.11.1. So I'll just put my PC here in the same subnet, and then you can get into the web GUI on this, and I'll show you guys how easy it is to program it. So to get into its web GUI, I have it plugged up on my other computer. I'm using Desk local connection to get to my other computer because my internet is down right now because I had to pull the SFP module out of pfSense. I already have it working right now. I just want to show you guys how I got it working and how easy it was. So I have it pulled out of pfSense. I stuck it in that 10 gig switch like how you guys saw. So I'm going to connect to my other computer. If you haven't heard of Desk, it's like TeamViewer, but better. I'll have a link to it either up here or up here. It's a really good program and it's free, open source. Check it out. But here's my other computer. What you have to do is whatever Ethernet port you have it plugged up to on your computer, you have to change the subnet to be in the same subnet as the SFP module. So the SFP module is 192.168.11.1, like how I said earlier. So I just made my computer 192.168.11.90. You just do use the following IP address. You can do anything as long as it's not .1. You hit OK, close, and then you go back to your web browser. You type in 192.168.11.1, and then you get to this screen. Now, when I first got it, I'm like, what the heck's the password? I just ordered it off this website. So the way I found this password was in the wiki. I just searched password up top, and then it says right here, reseller 8311 forks. And of course the username was already filled in, root, but the password is capital A, lowercase a, 123456. And I tried that and that one worked for me. There's a couple others up here you can click on, but the one that worked for me was capital A, lowercase a, 123456. And I'll have this web page linked down below in my description. So if you need it, you can click on that link and boom, there's your password. And you can also go on there and change the password. That's why I ended up doing. That's why I had to look it up in the wiki again. So if that helped you, drop me a comment down below. I'd really appreciate it. So once you get the password typed in, you just hit log in here, and this is what you'll get, the landing page for it. So I just went up top to 8311 and you go to configuration. And this is what you'll get here when you click on configuration. This is the important page. PON serial number ONT ID. That's on the bottom of your AT&T modem router gateway. It literally says ONT ID above it, and you just type everything in. I made sure mine, if it was capital in the box, I made it capital on here. I don't know if it's case sensitive. It doesn't say in the wiki, but I went ahead and did it case sensitive. Equipment ID, you get that from the wiki. It just depends on what model AT&T box you have. hardware version in the wiki. It shows you how to look that up. It was fairly easy. It has a link. Click on it and it pulls up AT&T's default router gateway thing. It's at 192.168.1.254, and that's how you can figure out what hardware version you have. And then software version A, software version B, they're the same thing. It tells you how to find out what software version. It basically goes off the hardware version. It has a little box above it. You paste the hardware version in it, and then it spits out the software version. And you just paste it twice, basically. And then make sure sync circuit pack version is checked. It says that in the wiki. So the important part that you have to get off the bottom of your modem router is the ONT ID, and then everything else is off the wiki. And then of course PON mode is XGPON. I don't think I had to change that. I think that was already on, so you can leave that on by default. And then this MIB file, it tells you what one to pick in the wiki. I didn't realize there was a drop down there. I thought I had to type it in, but you just click on this drop down here on the right and you can pick what one you need for your box. And then the IP host MAC address, I'm pretty sure that was already in there. I don't think I had to fill anything in for that. The only thing I pulled off the bottom of my modem was my ONT ID. And then up top, I had to click on ISP fixes. Fix VLANs, you want to click the drop down and click enabled and then hit save. And before you click on that other tab, make sure you hit save down here on the bottom. And then after you fill all that in, it wants you to go to system and then you click on reboot. Make sure it reboots. You can do it twice if you want. And then after you do that, you just pull out the stick and stick it into your router. Alright, on your router, if you have pfSense, I'm not sure how to do it if you have Ubiquiti or any other router, but I'm sure you can clone the MAC address with them. But on pfSense or pfSense Plus, like what I have up here, you go to interfaces and then you click on WAN. And then after you click on WAN, up here at the top, it says MAC addresses. And underneath here, it says this field can be used to modify, spoof the MAC address of this interface. So I just set my MAC address the same as what it was on my AT&T modem router gateway on the bottom. I just did 2 numbers, colon, 2 numbers and letters, colon, whatever it said, but every 2 characters I did a colon, and then I went down here and hit save. It took it a while, and then I hit applied changes. Now the key part is I stuck the SFP module in and plugged up my fiber and it didn't work. I'm like, oh man, what the heck happened? I had to reboot pfSense, and after I rebooted pfSense, my internet came up. So I'm gonna plug the stick in, plug in the fiber, and we're gonna see if my internet works for a second time plugging this in. Like I said, I've already had it set up and running for a while. I just wanted to make sure it worked before I made this video for you guys. Alright, so here's my fiber. I have it tacked up there and it runs out those holes right there. So we're gonna pull this fiber out of this hole here. And here's my fiber. Always make sure you got a dust cap on it. That's what that light green part is on the front. And then we're gonna plug it into this fiber keystone coupler. And then this fiber slack, I have it ran down the conduit. I'm gonna put it in the Velcro ties. Always use Velcro with fiber and Cat 5. And then we'll plug it into my pfSense router into the SFP module. So I got it plugged up to the back of that keystone. I'll adjust this later. I'll get a shorter fiber to run down to the rack. But this is the only one that I had here at my house. It's a 75 footer. So I got it plugged in. And then like I said, I ran it down that, and then we'll go to my rack and plug up the SFP module and see if it works. And there's the other end of that fiber coming out of the tube. It runs down here. I'll secure it later once I know it works. And then there's the fiber coming out. I got it laying here. It has a protective, like I said, dust cap on the front. Here's my old SFP module to go from RJ45 to SFP. And then here's the new one. And this thing gets hot. You got to remove that plug there, and then you can snap this in. And I don't know if you can see it back there, but that green is the fiber plugged into it, and then the silver is the module on the back of my pfSense router. And as you can see there, we have a link light and a random activity light. So we'll go up and see if we have internet access. All right, and as you can see here, and as you probably already figured out because I told you I got it working, we're online. Here's my WAN. This is covering up my WAN IP. Same thing down here, it's covering up my WAN IP. But if I click on Google, we have Google. And if I run a speed test on my other computer, I'll remote into it that has a 40 gig link. And my internet connection is about 2.5 gig down and 2.5 gig up from AT&T. We'll go ahead and run a quick speed test on it. So this is my other computer. Like I said, I'm using Rust Desk to access it over my local network, and we'll see if the speeds are about the same or any slower or any faster, not using AT&T's gateway. And there we go, 2300, almost 2400 down, and 23, almost 2400 up. And the up is what I was having problems with before when I was using their modem router gateway thing. I would only get about 1000 up sometimes. And my ping is 8 millisecond ping, which is low enough for me. It's fiber, as long as it's not up around like 30 or 40 like with the cable company. But the download speed is about the same as what I had using their box, but the upload speed is definitely faster and more consistent. So yeah, that's how I completely removed AT&T's fiber gateway from my network. So now my fiber runs straight to my own router, no double NAT, no limitations, no AT&T junky equipment in the middle. And honestly, I should have did this a long time ago. I don't know why I was putting it off. I just figured it'd be way harder than what it was, but it was actually pretty easy, as you guys just saw. And now I have better control, cleaner setup, and way more flexibility. Would you try this on your network? Are you sticking to using AT&T's fiber gateway? Let me know down below in the comments. I'm really curious to see what you guys think. And if this helped you out, I'd really appreciate it if you went down there, ran a fiber to your like button, and smash it for me. I've got more networking videos like this coming soon, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on those videos. And since I've done this, I haven't noticed any difference. My network has been completely stable, so I am definitely not plugging this thing back in. It's gonna be chucked in a closet, so that way if I ever cancel, I can return their equipment to them. So I will definitely be happy to get rid of this thing. But that's all I have for this one. If you guys are thinking about doing this at your house, let me know down below in the comments. And if you guys are doing it, run into any problems, drop me a comment too, and I'll do my best to see if I can help you. But I'm Adam with Got Wire, and I'll see you guys on the next one.